Hey everyone, welcome to the client side podcast. Yeah, we're gonna do a little something different today because it's my 10th episode, so I thought I'd celebrate in some sort of way. And my version of a celebration is instead of having a guest on today, I'm going to interview myself. Um, just kidding. But, a few weeks ago, I went on Instagram and I asked folks to send in their questions and I'd answer them on the podcast for my 10th episode. So I have a few questions here that I'm going to answer. And, there's some fun ones, there's some technical ones, there's one really strange one that I saw. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. So the first question I got was about building your marketing career. And the question was, hey, what are your best tips for wanting to grow in your marketing career? And, it's kind of funny because, if you know me, I came into marketing slightly differently than most folks. I didn't really go to college for marketing per se. I went to college for broadcasting school because I wanted to become like a sports broadcaster. But I also really liked film and television as well. So I started in college doing the broadcasting thing. I got an internship at a radio station, and I ended up eventually as a producer on the morning show, which was awesome, except for the fact that I had to wake up at 4 in the morning and be there at around 5 a.m. Those early mornings I don't miss at all. And then I still loved video, so I went to an agency here in Calgary called V Strategies, where I did um, video commercials, corporate videos, and then I got really into the video marketing side of things. So, kind of developing strategies uh, to kind of leverage your videos as best as possible, so you're not just spending all this cash on just one video that you're going to use once and then potentially never use it again. Um, and that video marketing piece or that strategic piece kind of led me to eventually getting into a marketing firm and then where I am now with the Inbound Lab. So basically, I guess the best tips for wanting to grow in your marketing career is be patient, right? You're not gonna come out of school and then start off as a freelancer right away. You're gonna want to learn from a lot of smart folks out there. I couldn't do this without my mentor. Hopefully, he's not listening. His name's Peter Bishop. But where I am now, I'm really happy that I took my time to learn a lot from my colleagues and even from my clients. Continuously reading materials on marketing, listening to podcasts, and yeah, just kind of, trying things, taking some risks. There's that whole monkey see, monkey do thing where, if you see something, try it and see if it works. Get into marketing metrics because basically everything that you do is going to be driven by the metrics or the goals that you're trying to track. Yeah, that's my best tip for wanting to grow in your marketing career. Another question here is, how do you keep customers interested in your content? Which is a difficult question to answer, but it's a really good question to ask. Basically, how do you keep customers interested in your content? You really just need to be consistent with your content, right? You don't want to just post ad hoc. You want to build a bit of a content strategy, get an understanding of what your target audience wants to consume, where they're consuming it. The biggest thing from an inbound marketing perspective is you're trying to figure out what their goals and pain points are, right? So, doing your audience personas or audience profiles to really target in on the content for your target audience. And then, yeah, post consistently, but also, switch it up a little bit, right? Like you don't want to just you want to do blog content maybe because it's great for SEO. People love to read as well, and if that's what your target audience is if that's where your target audience is consuming their content, then yeah, do the blog content. But they might also be watching videos, right? So publish some videos, and they don't have to be anything special. I always say, video content is like pizza. Even if the pizza's bad, it's still pretty good. So, as long as the audio is good and the content is quality in terms of what the actual context of what the content is, then you should be good. But yeah, just make sure that you're posting relevant content based on your customers' interest, and that's how you'll eventually keep them interested in your content, right? Here's a fun one. So, are you more Don Draper or Peggy Olsen? Um, I, you know what? I've never really watched Mad Men, and I think Peggy Olsen is a character in Mad Men as well as Don Draper. All I know about Mad Men is that the Mad Men are womanizing, which is not me. I'd say from a character perspective, maybe I'm a Don Draper in terms that I like to drink old fashions. I consider myself to be an okay presenter, persuader, maybe. I don't even know. But yeah, I think from maybe not so much from a character, like a personality perspective, I'm a Don Draper in that I'm not a womanizer. But from maybe a boozy point of view, I'm a Don Draper type of guy because I love to drink cocktails. Another question here. Hey, why do I need to blog? I want to start a blog but don't know where to start. So these are two questions, really. So, why do I need to blog? I mean, you don't need to blog. It's just a good way to, one, build upon your search ranking, build that authority with your website, build that thought leadership, right? Because you're posting content that's relevant to your business. And as I mentioned earlier, hopefully relevant to your target audience. So I think blogging is it's almost like the gateway drug to additional content marketing, video, podcasts, and what have you. So you don't need to blog, but it's a good way to start. And the second part of that question is I want to start a blog, but don't know where to start. You need to start from your audience, right? So define your audience, what their goals and pain points are, as I mentioned, and define how they're consuming their content. So do some research. Ask some of your customers how they're consuming content. I like to send out surveys to customers to just say, hey, what would you like to consume? Or what would you like to learn more about, basically? Keyword research, use some programs like SEMrush or SEMrush or Moz to get an understanding of what search terms are being looked out for there in terms of organic search, of course. And then put together, pillars of content. So just high level buckets of content that you can start building other topics out of. So let's say, for me, my pillars might be culture, comedy, and that's basically, me showing off that, I'm a friendly person, but I'm also going to put some education in there as well. Or I'll put something along the lines of something specific to a specific topic, right? So, I'll do like an SEO piece or something like that, right? So maybe my pillars of content is SEO, content marketing, email marketing, let's say. But yeah, I think just putting that content strategy together, defining your audience personas, and then building out content pillars. That'll help you start coming up with the blog content topics that will help you become an authoritative figure in your industry online. Another question here. So, what makes a good inbound strategy? Very similar to how to start a blog, but basically the biggest part about an inbound strategy and why I love inbound so much is that you're trying to solve problems. You're not here to promote your business or promote your product or service. It's part of it, but you're doing it in a more subtle way. Instead you're helping, right? That's kind of if I think about my purpose as an inbound marketer, or my purpose as a marketer, or my purpose as a business owner. I just want to solve problems for people. So come out with a bit of a mantra as to how you want to help your potential customers or your prospects. And then figure out how to nurture them as well. So when you talk about inbound marketing strategy, you're talking about the awareness stage, which is pulling in your ideal customer with the content that you're putting out that's relevant to your ideal customer's needs and goals, or pain points even. And then engaging them further, nurturing them with an email marketing campaign or some search intent content. And search intent is where you're basically writing or creating content that's keyword focused on what people are searching for within the engagement part of the buyer's journey. And then once you've closed your customer as well, you need to figure out how to delight your customers, whether that's through great customer service or, getting referrals by asking them to fill out surveys or leave reviews or sending your content to their friends or colleagues or family. There's a lot that goes on in inbound marketing strategy. But what makes a really good inbound marketing strategy, like I mentioned, is just having that mantra that you're here to help. How do you discover what your target audience's pain points are? So I sort of answered this earlier. But basically, just ask. Do user interviews, much like you would for, like, let's say you're creating I don't know, like a new website or something for your business. You're going to want to ask folks what their goals and pain points are in terms of a user-friendly website. How are you trying to get them to click on a specific item? Are you just posting or putting content on your website just because? There's a series of questions that you can ask. Send those surveys out, like I mentioned, in the delight stage to your current customers, or even folks who aren't your customers yet but they're following you. Ask them what they're looking for in content, or what they're looking to achieve within marketing or within what their business goals are, and go from there, and then try to put it all together in a neat little persona, and then capture data by publishing content, tracking it, and then optimizing as you see fit. Next question here is, what is the number one mistake you see people make when it comes to inbound marketing? And that's an interesting question, because inbound marketing is basically the long game, right? It takes a long time to see the results from an inbound marketing campaign. The biggest thing is you just got to do the work, and then the results will follow. And what's great about the results following is that they're long-term results. They're not just short-term gains from like a paid ad or a television commercial, or something you've seen online in terms of a sponsored ad. I think the biggest mistake you see a lot of people making when it comes to inbound marketing is hoping that they see results right away. And that's tough, because they're going to get discouraged, right? You might get 5 views on a LinkedIn post, or you'll get 10 readers on a blog post, and you're wondering, hey, how come they haven't signed up, subscribed, or how come they haven't acted on talking to a salesperson or something like that. So patience is the biggest thing when it comes to inbound marketing. Ooh, this is a tough one. Does the CRM belong to the marketing folks or the salespeople? Well, that's interesting. So it really depends on what you're using the CRM for. So a lot of CRMs come with that marketing automation piece, right? So marketing folks are going to want to be the keepers of that. But then there's parts where you're tracking leads, you're tracking the conversations that you're actually having with your potential customers and your current customers. I think for me, it's a collaborative process, which is, a bit of a crappy way to answer that because I think it belongs to both people. But the biggest thing, and I say it all the time, is marketing needs to be aligned with sales. And if they're not, the CRM is probably going to fall apart at some point. And you're not going to be capturing the data, nor are you going to be nurturing your potential prospects properly without some alignment between marketing and salespeople. Oh, God. Okay. The last question here, what are your top three kinks? So that was the weird one. I'm trying to keep this wholesome here, so I'm going to say my top three kinks as a marketer or an inbound marketer is one, a well thought out welcome email series, because the welcome email series is really important in terms of email nurturing for your potential customers. Um, High ranking search results. So, making sure that you're posting quality content that's focused on what Google is searching for or whatever you're using. Yelp, sorry, not Yelp, DuckDuckGo or whatever that search engine you're using. Um, and the third one, what are your top three kinks? The third one is we'll go back to the CRM. Is when a client says, "Hey, they want a well-structured CRM process." So again, if you want the CRM to work properly, aligning your marketing and sales folks, a well-structured CRM process is probably going to be the way to go. And there's plenty of ways to define that. It's having lots of conversations, having an agreement between the two departments, and then just being empathetic to one another. And I think that's how I'm going to leave this podcast, everyone. So yeah, be empathetic to one another, and thank you so much for listening to the 10th episode of the Client Side Podcast. I'm looking forward to what I'm calling the second season of the podcast. Next week, I actually have an awesome interview with a gentleman named Cordell Vose, who is the marketing manager over at Calgary Co-op. We're going to talk about everything Cal and Gary. So talk to you then. Bye.